Today we are going to be talking about similes and metaphors and personification in poetry. So let's see if I can get this on present mode, which I can. Yay! This Tyndall's learning some new stuff every day. I hope everybody's great. I'm doing good. I miss all of you. And so here we go, reading poetry. Similes, metaphors, and personification used in poetry. First of all, let me move me out of the way. Maybe I can make me smaller. Okay. First of all, why do authors use similes, metaphors, and personification in poetry? This is something I want you to ask yourself as you're reading some of the poems in this week's packet. And so, yes, think about those questions. Also, think about, how does this help me as a reader? How do similes, metaphors, and the use of personification, how can they help me as a reader? How is it going to help me understand what I'm reading? How is it going to help me visualize and picture what the author is trying to communicate and see? Because sometimes poetry can be straightforward, and sometimes it can be very, what we call, vague. Let me look really quick what vague is in Spanish. Hold on, I misspelled it. And so, muy vago, like just you kind of understand, but you're not really sure. So a lot of this can help us understand what we are reading. And so as you're reading, I want you to think of those questions. Okay, I'm going to move me again. Favor disculpen. So, what is a simile and what is a metaphor? Here, if you look to your right, you can see simile and metaphor side by side, because sometimes it can be tricky and seem very similar. So in similes, as you see right here, we're comparing two unlike things. We're comparing two things that are not the same. They're very different, but maybe they can behave like each other. Depends. So let's look, and when you can identify a simile because the sentence or the phrase uses like or as. So, the trees stood still as giant statues. Picture that in your head. The trees stood still as giant statues. There was no wind, their leaves weren't blowing, the branches weren't swaying, the trees were just still, just like a statue. A statue doesn't move at all. Tree wasn't moving at all. The train whistle was like a sad song. How many of you ever heard a train whistle? I've heard a train whistle. Sometimes it just sounds like a really lonely and sad sound. Our key word there is like. Is a whistle a song? No, it's not. But it sounds like a very sad song. Un corrido muy triste. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Quiet as a dream. When it's quiet, think about what it's like when it's quiet. And then what it's like when you're dreaming. In your dreams, do you kind of have sound all the time? Sometimes my dreams are just very silent. You see people moving. I'm doing something, but I don't really hear anything. So it's comparing being quiet as a dream. Cold as an icy hand on your back. Muy frío, como los manos que están frío. So cold, you feel the cold. You can just feel someone touching your back with their cold hands, and oh, it's very cold. The snow was as white as milk. La nieve estaba blanco como la leche. Snow. Okay, comparing snow and milk, they're not the same. Snow is made out of water, as you have learned in science. milk comes from a cow or a goat or a mother. Can be any kind of mother that is a mammal. But snow is usually white like milk. Lifted off like a shadow. Ooh, that's a good one. Lifted off like a shadow. So that means whatever lifted off moved very slowly like a shadow. Okay, let's talk about metaphors. Comparing two unlike things again. However, with a metaphor, we are not using like or as. No estamos usando las palabras like or as. Okay. So the words we are using in a metaphor are linking verbs. These are our connecting verbs. They're not action verbs, but they connect an action word to another phrase. Is, are, were, was. Here it says no, like, or as. Use this slide as a resource when you are looking for your metaphors and similes. The dog bark is a song. Is. The dog is barking. El perro está ladrando. Okay, so they're comparing the bark to a song. So maybe the dog's bark wasn't very rough and annoying. Maybe it sounded nice. The moon's face is a silver mask. They're comparing la cara de la luna to a mask, como una máscara. Oh, sorry, I have a gnat in here that's bothering me. The shadows are stains on the snow. So before we talked about the snow being white as milk, and now we are talking about the shadows on the snow like a stain. So it's kind of like una mancha en la nieve. Alright. The echo is a thread. That one's kind of confusing. So an echo, how many of you have heard an echo? Okay, echo is a thread. It means like the echo can start off loud, like really solid and loud, and then it gets faint, like como un hilo. It's really, really, really faint, really thin. I was a shadow. Was a shadow. So maybe you were very quiet. You're so quiet nobody could see you. That could be what that means. Let's look at next slide. Let's take a look at this poem. Let me move me again out of your way. So in this poem, a simile poem. Let me read the poem to you. I am mad as a storm. I am silly as a monkey. I am dumb as a donkey. I am tall as a tree. I am hungry as a lion. I am nice as a horse. I am loud as a thunderstorm. I am thin as paper. I am clever as my mum. By Aurelie Baylor. Alright, so this poem is using similes to describe Aurelie's personality. Can we see personality? Podemos ver la personalidad? We can't see personality, but we can compare it to a lot of different things. So similes help us see or visualize things in our minds so we understand what the author is trying to communicate. And so she uses that she's mad, that she's mad, or when she's mad, her anger is like a storm. I'm mad as a storm. So cuando ella está enojada, when she is mad, it's like a thunderstorm. Today we have thunderstorms, and they were loud, and the thunder was booming, and so maybe she gets really loud when she gets mad. Okay? So that is a good use of similes in this poem. Now we're going to talk about metaphors. Now in this poem, the author uses metaphors to describe his family. Do we know this person's family? No, we don't. Let me read the poem before I get to point number 3. And here it gives a good pronunciation of metaphor. My brother is a dragon. My mom's a teddy bear. I'm a shaggy sheepdog with a ton of tangled hair. My father is a monkey. He likes to make us laugh. Especially my sister, who is a tall giraffe. We are a busy family with many things to do. Our home is always happy, but sometimes it's a zoo. Very good poem. And using metaphors helps us visualize and understand what this person's family is like, what they look like, maybe how they behave, how they feel. So the example I liked in this poem was, my mom's a teddy bear. I want to point out, the apostrophe S in moms is not a possessive apostrophe S. This writer used it as a conjunction. So what he really wrote, or what he was trying to communicate, was mom is a teddy bear. And how do teddy bears feel? They're very huggable. They're very squishy. They're soft. They're warm. They're cuddly. So that tells me a lot about this person's mother. So this is a good metaphor poem. All right. We're going to move on to personification. Look at this word. Personification. Person is in this word. So we are giving the qualities of a person to things that are not people, animals, objects, or feelings and ideas. When an idea, object, or animal demonstrates human characteristics, they act like people, and we give them these qualities. Everyone is talking about the new class pet. Good news travels fast. News. Las noticias. They are moving very quickly. If I tell one person one thing, they spread the word, and the word travels fast. The rain stopped, and the sun began to peek behind the clouds. The sun, it's peeking over the clouds. The first little pig built his house out of straw. Can pigs build a house? No. But in that story, they gave pigs the ability to do what people can do. So that is a good use of personification. All right, time to practice. So, can you identify the similes, metaphors, and if this poem has personification? The locket, or locket. My oak tree wears a birdhouse like a locket on a limb. He loves to hold the birds. They always sing to him. He sways in time to songs of sky, imagines, travels over land, but he is rooted to the earth. An oak tree must forever stand. Birds sing worldly melodies, as round his leaves they dainty heart. Oak will never leave his place. He holds his locket near his heart. Very, very moving poem about an oak tree. How many of you have seen an oak tree? Where I used to live, there were tons of oak trees, and I miss them. Okay, so let's talk about personification in this poem. First line, my oak tree wears a birdhouse. This poem is about the birdhouse in the oak tree, not necessarily about the oak tree. Now, but it's telling me in this line, my oak tree wears a birdhouse. Can an oak tree wear something? Like we wear shirts? No. But the author is trying to explain how this oak tree wears a birdhouse. And the birdhouse is a permanent thing on this shirt, on this tree. The simile. And forgive me, I misspelled simile. S-I-M-I-L-E, not Y. So the example here is like a locket on a limb. So they're not talking about the tree limbs. They are talking about maybe an arm or around your neck. Where do you wear a locket? You can wear a locket on your wrist like a bracelet, or you can wear one on your neck. Okay? So this tree wears this birdhouse like a person wears a locket on them. That is the simile. I'm going to move me again. Metaphor. And excuse me again, I've misspelled example. E-X-A-M-P-L-E. I will fix this. But he is rooted in the earth. Is my key word for the metaphor. The oak tree, or is it the birdhouse that is rooted in the earth? The oak tree is rooted in the earth. I know he's talking about the oak tree because in the second line underneath that, well, the fourth line of that stanza, it's talking about the oak tree. And it's rooted in the earth. It's very solid in there. And it's not going anywhere unless it is cut down. But even if it's cut down, the roots still stay in the earth unless you dig out the tree. So this poem did have the three things we were talking about in poetry. Now, our next slide has two poems, okay? And so I'm going to take myself off. But it has two poems. You may choose one of these two poems to copy down and identify if they have similes, metaphors, and personification in them. You do not have to do both. So I saved you a step of looking up a poem. You do not have to look up a poem. You can if you want to. Here are two perfectly good poems you are able to use. I hope you enjoyed the lesson on poetry. I hope you use this slide as a resource. And I miss you all. Besos.